Academic writing requires a formal and professional tone. That means avoiding informal language, contractions, and unnecessary abbreviations. Let's go over some key points. Text speech, like great or IMHO, may be fine in casual conversation, but it has no place in academic work. Casual words such as sort of, okay, and maybe weaken clarity. Instead, use precise language. Slang and colloquial expressions like sussy for suspicious make writing sound unprofessional. Contractions, words like don't or can't, should be written in full as do not and cannot. Abbreviations such as e.g. and etc. should generally be spelled out. However, commonly accepted abbreviations like BCE for before Common Era and USD, US dollar, are fine. Incomplete and grammatically incorrect sentences can confuse your reader, so always proofread carefully. Ultimately, formal and precise writing makes your work clearer, more credible, and easier to understand. Academic writing should be clear, precise, and professional. Informal language weakens arguments, while formal writing sounds more credible. Here's an informal example. A lot of people think raising the minimum wage will help workers, but it might also make businesses hire fewer people. If companies have to pay higher wages, they might not be able to afford as many workers. So, even though it sounds like a good idea, it could have some downsides. Now, a formal version. Many argue that increasing the minimum wage benefits workers, but it may also reduce employment. Higher labor costs could lead firms to limit hiring and reduce staff. Thus, while raising wages aims to help workers, it may have unintended consequences. Academic writing avoids I and you to maintain objectivity and focus on research. Instead of I analyzed the results, use the results were analyzed. Some disciplines allow I in reflective writing, so always check with your lecturer or supervisor. Many think that academic writing should be complex, but clear writing is actually more effective. If your point isn't obvious, your reader may struggle to understand your argument. Start by stating your idea in simple terms before refining it into formal academic language. A useful trick is to begin with, what I really mean is, and then rewrite it more formally. For example, what I really mean is Benson's evidence isn't strong enough. Writing it more academically, due to a small sample and lack of randomization, Benson's study cannot support this hypothesis. Clarity isn't just about individual sentences. It applies to entire paragraphs and sections. Each paragraph should have a clear main point that contributes to the overall argument. On a separate notebook, try summarizing the paragraph in one sentence starting with, what I really mean is, to check if your writing stays focused. Long, complex sentences can make economic arguments harder to follow. Breaking them down into shorter sentences improves clarity and makes your writing more effective. Here's an example of a long, difficult-to-read sentence. Governments that implement expansionary fiscal policy by increasing public spending and cutting taxes may stimulate economic growth in the short term, but if these measures lead to rising budget deficits and higher national debt, they can create long-term challenges such as inflationary pressures, reduced investor confidence, and the need for future austerity measures. That's a lot to take in at once. Here's a clearer version with shorter sentences. Expansionary fiscal policies, such as higher public spending and tax cuts, can boost short-term economic growth. However, these policies may increase budget deficits and national debt. Over time, This can lead to inflation, reduced investor confidence, and the need for austerity measures. Clear writing makes your arguments stronger and easier to follow. Keep it simple, structured, and precise. Good academic writing is clear and to the point. No one wants to wade through long, wordy sentences when a simple one will do. If you can say something in 50 words instead of 200, do it. Here's how. Use simpler words where possible. Big words don't make writing academic. Avoid repeating yourself. If you've already said it, cut it. Stay on topic. If a sentence doesn't support your argument, leave it out. Editing is key. When you rewrite, look for words and phrases that don't add value. For example, instead of startups represent an increasingly common form of business, just say startups are becoming more common. Academia thrives on careful, evidence-based claims. If you sound too certain, your reader may not trust you. Instead of writing, graduates always earn more, say, graduates tend to earn more. Be mindful of exaggeration. Words like extremely persuasive or very successful can overstate your case. Instead, use hedging words like suggests, appears, could, or possibly. Also, acknowledge research limitations. If your study had a small sample or conflicting results, say so. It actually strengthens your credibility. But don't hedge too much. If your argument is strong, be confident. Just don't claim more than the evidence allows. Precision makes writing stronger. Instead of saying, a lot of countries have high inflation, be specific. In 2023, inflation exceeded 10% in Argentina, Turkey, and Zimbabwe. Vague terms like some evidence or a few cases leave room for interpretation. Instead, define exactly what you mean. If you introduce a technical term, explain it clearly. Precision avoids confusion and helps your argument hold under scrutiny. Academic writing should be based on evidence, not personal opinions. Instead of saying, I think trade restrictions hurt growth, point to research. Trade restrictions have been shown to limit economic growth. Smith 2020. Avoid emotional language. Phrases like unfair policies or devastating results sound biased. Stick to the facts and let the data speak for itself. If you need to refer to yourself, do it sparingly and only when necessary. Most academic writing keeps the focus on the research, not the writer. Good academic writing is clear, concise, cautious, precise, and objective. Keep your writing simple, structured, and supported by evidence. Editing and rewriting are just as important as writing the first draft. So take the time to refine your work. Your goal? Make your argument easy to understand, strong, and credible.